Hello, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Crooked Illness. I'm so excited to get into the meaning of today's episode, failing to success. There is such a powerful story behind this one that my beautiful guest, Stevie Griffin, and I will be diving into. Stevie is a journalist for Extol magazine, along with running her blog, Healthy Life, Healthy Mind, and her nonprofit called the Diamond Bucket Project. I'm very fired up to have Stevie here today to share her story with us and share all the ways she has been able to use failure to propel herself forward in all the work she has done and is currently doing. So, without further ado, welcome Stevie to the podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I remember reaching out to Paris just a few weeks ago, and it's been so great to get to know her. And I can't wait to share with you guys more about my story and my nonprofit and what I've been doing with mental health. So I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. You guys have no idea. She reached out to me. We had the most incredible conversation. I felt like I could talk to her just all day long, hearing about her story, the nonprofit, all the things she has done and is doing. And she's only 20 years old. 20 years old, and that's incredible to me. So I really just want to get into this. So before we just jump right into the focus of the episode, I would love if you could just start us off with sharing your story. So let's just dive right into that.
Okay, awesome. So I've dealt with mental health issues my entire life. And when I was in middle school, I was really struggling with figuring out why my body and my mind was experiencing the mental and emotional changes that I was feeling. And being a 12 and 11-year-old girl, you really don't understand what is happening. I truly felt lost. I didn't feel like I was educated enough on mental health. And so I was genuinely confused why there was moments that I felt sad, or why there was moments where I would go from 0 to 100 so quickly. And if those of you that have known me, and for those of you who don't, in middle school, I was genuinely a very happy person when that's what I perceived myself as. I would show that I was involved with student council, theater, cheer. I tried to be the light for others when literally my light was draining. And I felt like that was a facade. And it wasn't until high school that I really started showing that. I started showing my struggles. I started losing passion in the things that I have always been passionate in. I stopped cheering. I stopped performing. I genuinely felt for a while that I had lost myself. And those were some difficult times, I would say. And it wasn't until I really had a moment with myself. And I remember laying on my bedroom floor. That's what I did when I felt like I was at my lowest points, is I would lay on my bedroom floor and I would just cry for hours. And I would scroll through social media and I would find ways to compare myself and give reasons why I wasn't good enough, or why I wasn't capable in performing, or why giving myself reasons why I stopped doing all the things I did. And it wasn't until I really looked in the mirror and I was like, I need to get up. I need to get up. I need to figure out what's going on. And that's when I seeked out and went to a therapist, and I was diagnosed clinically depressed, and I've struggled with major anxiety issues my entire life. And like I told Paris when we got to talk before, I definitely used that to my advantage. I would say that, I'm depressed or I'm anxious. That's why I'm not doing these things. That's why I'm losing friendships. That's why I don't have motivation. And I would just use that to validate what I was going through. And I definitely never had it all figured out. I was learning constantly. I was talking to therapists. I was trying to improve my mental health on my own. And it genuinely wasn't until I started the Diamond Bucket Project and I was like, you know what? This failure, I felt like it was a failure. I felt like I was a failure, but that moment I knew I can use this to educate and advocate for mental health for others. And it wasn't until I started talking to other people about what they were going through, and I was sharing my story, sharing my experience with dealing with mental health, with depression, with anxiety, that's what saved me. That's what saved me, was seeing the power of this community of people that are experiencing the same thing I am. It showed me and it let me know that I was not alone in this. So
I
that's
love it. Oh
what.
my gosh. I love it so much. And honestly, like I remember the first conversation we had, you were telling me about the story leading up to the creation of the Bucket Project. And I just found it so cool that you started thinking about creating this at 16, right? 16 years old?
Yeah, 16 years old.
16 years old, you guys. 16 years old, she had, thinking about how can I use my experiences and these feelings of feeling like a failure, feeling like I'm the only one dealing with this, suffering with this, not feeling like I can come out of it or talk to anyone about it or really like make any movement forward from this. She took that and she was, thinking of what can I turn this into
Mhm.
to, create a unity feeling in community and to create more of an awareness of this. And that's when you started the Diamond Bucket Project, which, was 4 years ago, right? 4 years
4
ago?
years ago. It's crazy to think that that was 4 years ago, because I
Wow.
have gotten to talk to thousands of students, and it's amazing not only to know that I have impacted some lives, but also like they have no idea the impact that they've made on mine. And I think that's the most powerful thing that I've taken away from starting this nonprofit
Oh
and
my
being
gosh.
and trying to navigate through my own
Yes.
feelings. It was just it's crazy, but
Oh,
it's exciting to think about.
I love it so much. So just tell us a little bit. So tell us about, what led, obviously we kind of got into that a little bit, like what led up to the creation of the Diamond Bucket Project, but what is the Diamond Bucket Project all about? What do you guys do? Because I know you mentioned, talking to some students and different things like that, but to kind of give us a nice overview of what it is and, what it's all about.
So, the Diamond Bucket Project is a nonprofit organization aimed to educate students about the importance of mental health. So, like I said, I've got to make many appearances in schools, educating students, but also hosting my own events where we can truly come together and just use the power of being together and talking about. Depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder. There's so many different mental illnesses that people are dealing with. And so my main goal was to raise awareness, but also raise money so that we can provide the tools necessary in places like Wellstone. And also I partnered with Good to Go Green, which is a nonprofit organization aimed to educating students about the importance of healthy eating, because that kind of ties together with my platform about healthy living and a healthy mind, a healthy lifestyle. And a lot of people don't have that access. And that's what I think is so powerful about Good to Go Green, as well as the Diamond Bucket Project, that a lot of people aren't educated on the importance of mental health, but also the importance of taking care of ourselves physically too. And so that's been awesome to be able to partner with them. But the Diamond Bucket Project has really been about the power of speaking and making sure that each and every person that I encounter knows that they are not alone and that they are capable of getting through whatever they have that they're going through right now, and that their current situation does not define them and it does not define who they can be. And so that's
Oh my
really.
gosh. I'm just so, so in love with this. All of it. Everything, just everything, we've covered so far and gotten into. And especially like that point you bring up of talking about the physical health related also to the mental health and also with the healthy eating, exercise, and also educating on that as well, I think is so, so important because I feel like sometimes we can kind of forget that, right? Like when we're, really dealing with something, struggling with something, and in that moment right there in that struggle, we sometimes start to like overlook the things that we're doing physically, what we're eating, are we getting exercise, what are we doing with our bodies? And we kind of like put that on the back burner because we tend to be, almost so overwhelmed with what we have experienced, what we're dealing with. So I love that you also tie that in there as well, and also kind of talk about the whole overall thing, right? Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy life, not just kind of like one aspect of it. I think, anything would be good to focus on anything, but I love how you do that and how you really tie all that together. And that also leads me to, kind of the title of this episode, right? So I remember I was sitting here talking to you and I was like, what? I was like, wow. I was
Yeah.
like, what am I going to call this one? And I remember hearing this and just your view that you have of failure. I would love to ask you about this because I found this so interesting and just such a good thing that I really want to highlight. So, how do you view failure, and what about that view do you believe has helped you in life?
Yes. So, like I told Paris, I definitely have had an outlook on failure my entire life that it was such a negative thing. Failing a test, failing a class, failing at a sport, it was always put out to be that's it's a disappointment. It's something that we should be ashamed of. And that's how I viewed it my entire life until I had this huge moment of failure, not just failing at a class or failing trying a new sport. Like I said, it was the failure of failing myself. And I was distraught. I was genuinely confused of I feel like an actual failure. This is the feeling of failing. I have failed myself. I have failed relationships. I have failed my family members. I feel like I have let anxiety, depression defeat me, comparison defeat me. And my view of failure started to shift when really I was like, I am starting the Diamond Bucket Project because I failed. And if I did not, I would not be here right now. I would not be standing here talking about mental health with students if I did not go through that. And I am a firm believer that I am going to fail 100 more times, and I cannot wait for that. I genuinely cannot wait to experience the feeling of defeat because that's what brings out the fire in me, and it should bring out the fire in anyone. That your failure does not define you. That is a stepping stone to success. That is a stepping stone to growth. And so that's really my outlook on failure itself. Just knowing that this happened for a reason, and this is the reason is it's creating who I'm going to be in the future. And I'm excited to fail again. I genuinely am, and that's crazy to say, but I cannot wait to
No, I
fail.
I love it so much, just that view and how you talk about, failure as a stepping stone to success. And I really agree with you, especially when we talked about this before of, being younger and, being in school and, you fail a test or you fail a class or, you don't make tryouts for basketball, cheer, track team, whatever it is, and then you start to personalize that. And I think that's what we really started to focus on is, yes, you may not have gotten the grade you wanted or, gotten on this, but when we start to take these things personal and say, no, I am a failure. It's me. It's because of me. And because of that, it starts to become very difficult to want to almost pursue other things because we reflect so much on, well, I messed up at this and I didn't do good at this, or I, didn't get this right. So why would I get that right? And it starts to become very difficult and very overpowering and almost completely overwhelming to come out of that. But I love how you started to say, you know what? I would not have created the Diamond Bucket Project unless I failed, unless I experienced these things, unless I had these feelings, and there wouldn't even be one. You wouldn't even be able to, be in front of these students, having these conversations, empowering them, encouraging them, lifting them up. You wouldn't even be able to be doing any of that unless you had this in the first place. And I really think that is such a, like, I just wish this was more of a common perception of failure because, even me, I was the same way. I was totally the same way, very similar to what you were saying, viewing this as me. It is me. I'm the one who has failed my family, my friends, whatever the case may be, you look at it that way. But I think that the way that you really frame it is so incredible because, and especially the point of, of course we're going to fail again in our lives. It's unavoidable, inevitable, right? So we know this, but it's almost like we're not afraid of it, but we're welcoming this because it's allowing us more room to grow, more room to learn, more room to say, okay, this might not have gone the way that I expected, or the way that I had foreseen this or planned this to go, but that's okay. It
Right.
happened. I can take something from this. And I think that's one of the most important things you really, taught me in our conversation, is to take something away from that rather than to let that experience take something away from you.
Yes, exactly. And
So,
believing on that aspect of things can defeat you even further than it already did. And so shifting that perspective and using it as a light, that this is, because it doesn't mean that you weren't good at XYZ. That has nothing to do with failure at all.
mhm.
It's just showing you and teaching you a lesson and showing you that you can use this as a stepping stone. So I think that everyone should just really use it to their advantage, use it as a powerful tool to become who they want to be and not dwell on the past at all. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that's an amazing point that you just brought up. And that also leads me to something we kind of got into a little bit earlier, a little bit, was social media. So last time we spoke, we got into this conversation, right? And this role that social media played during the lowest moments that you'd experienced in life. So I'd love to hear from you, what role did it play? And how do you view social media today when it comes to helping or harming our mental health?
yes. So social media was a super important role in my life at an early age. And I feel like my generation had to experience that a lot earlier. And now it's even earlier with the students that are even in elementary school having Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And so for me, like I kind of talked about before, I used social media as a comparison tool, and it wasn't even a place for me to fully be who I am. It was a place where I could go search someone that I wanted to compare myself to. And there has always been this idea of a perfect image of a person that I felt like I needed to be. My body had to be a certain way. I had to look this way. I had to create my life to make it seem like it's perfect on social media. And so I developed an eating disorder out of being on Instagram and Facebook in high school. I became very anorexic and I was not eating. I was not nourishing my body the way I should. I was not taking care of myself because I thought the idea of beauty was being small and skinny. And I remember talking to you about this, that even in the moments that I thought, oh my gosh, like I had gotten so small, and I would look in the mirror and I would still not feel good enough. I would still view myself as, oh, like I have to lose a little bit here and here, and I need to have that hourglass figure. At 17 years old, I was thinking this. And the more that I have talked to students, this is still a problem today. And social media should be a place where we fully express who we are. And that's been my goal moving forward, especially since I graduated from high school, is to be real, to be authentically myself on social media, to show that I am not perfect. And that was the reason that I even started my blog, was because I talk a lot about the experiences that I've dealt with. And a lot of it is not sugar-coated. It's not sweet, and it's definitely straightforward. And that's exactly what I wanted it to be. And I've talked to so many people that have reached out to me on Instagram telling me how much me coming out with my story has helped them realize what is actually going on. And that's been my goal with the Diamond Bucket Project, with my blog, and with social media in general, is just to normalize the idea that we are all who we are for a reason. And we cannot compare ourselves to each other because we are so different. And I am the most quirky, weird, outgoing person. And I've accepted that. Like, I have so many qualities that I have grown to love that I used to hate because it didn't live up to that expectation of perfection, as you would say, that this is.
Wow. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that so much, especially when you talk about, the using social media, especially being so young, right? You said 17 years old, being online and seeing these pictures and seeing these images, and then even you said, looking in the mirror and saying, "Okay, I feel like I'm small enough. I feel good," but then also seeing your reflection and saying, "Well, I need to work on this more and I need to change." And it almost kind of seems, like we kind of got into this conversation last time of almost like an unattainable kind of
Yes.
happiness. Like we have this, right? Like it's almost like we have this, or you kind of had this destination in your head, right? Of, okay, once I reach this point, then it'll be good. Then I'll, be the way I want. And I think that's amazing that you talk about, what you do on social media now and highlighting, and in your blog, highlighting these experiences, talking about, what it was like to suffer with an eating disorder, the reality of that, and not sugarcoating that. And I think that's so important that you do that the way that you do it, because I feel like it's almost more common to see a lot of different things talked about with, like a sugar coating on top of it, trying, okay, well, here's the topic, but, kind of like going about it in a way that isn't, like fully the exact experience because of some whatever reason that's holding us back from really like going in and saying, this is what it was like. I had days where I was on the floor in tears for hours, just struggling with this, not eating at all, constantly criticizing myself every single time I looked in the mirror, never feeling good about myself. But then people, right, are seeing you, right? They're seeing you on social media and probably being like, wow, this girl looks so amazing, like her life looks great. And I think that point you talked about of that facade, right, and continuing to try to maintain this image, whether it be online or in life or to our friends or to our family members or to anyone around us, that I'm doing good, everything's okay, you don't need to be concerned, I'm fine, I'm great, everything's great. And I think that is so true when you bring that up, is, being able to actually say, I'm not doing okay right now. This is something that I've been dealing with or experiencing, and, I struggled with in the past. And that's what I think is so amazing about you, is you have used that as fuel to create the Diamond Bucket Project, to create your blog and put that out there in a way that is helpful to people, rather than something that is continuing to pull other people down and make them still feel stuck and like they won't ever live up to this image that they're trying to reach, or this person that they really want to be like or look like or live like, and feeling like there's no way that can happen. I love that you do that, and the way that you speak about that, and just the level of vulnerability that you have, and especially bringing this up at being 20 years old and being able to like come on here and say these things and tell this story, I think is amazing. And this, if we can continue to spread this message and do the things that you're doing, visiting these students and giving these talks and doing these speaking engagements and partnering with other organizations, like you said, continuing to do these things and continue to build this message to let people know that you're not alone, and other people have dealt with this in some kind of a capacity, and that you don't have to feel like you have to stay there, I think is so incredible just about you and this message and just really all of it, because you are really using social media for good, right? Instead of, and I know, there's probably plenty of people out there who are still still kind of afraid to, and I'm not saying that like everyone has to go out and like go on social media and say, hey guys, I'm struggling with this. Like not everyone has to do that, but like just to let people know that you can, if you want to and you feel called to do that, because you think providing that message could potentially help people who see you, who follow you, who look at you and say, this is what I'm dealing with. And just to kind of show people, I'm a human, I'm like a
Exactly.
real
And
yes.
it's okay not to be okay. And
Yeah.
I have realized that I don't have everything figured out. I definitely have moments where I'm still struggling with anxiety and depression, and instead of viewing that as such a negative thing, I've made it really become just kind of who I am. This is, this is me. I have days where I struggle, and that was the purpose of the blog and posting on social media, that I still share my experiences right now, that I don't have it figured out all the way. I have experienced this. I have grown. I have learned, but I'm still experiencing. I'm still growing. And so is everyone else. And I think that's just the power that we need to use social media as a platform where we can truly express and be who we are. And like you said, you don't have to come out and say everything that you've dealt with or experienced in your life, but just know that you can, and it is accessible if you want to. And
Yes.
maybe seeing other people, like I have fallen in love with your Instagram and your message, and you being
Oh,
open and real and honest. And that's why I was just so excited to come on here today and to talk with you, because you have impacted so many people, and I don't even know if you know that. And so that's why I'm going to tell you right now that you've impacted me, and watching you on social media and listening to your podcast has been empowering. And
oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Honestly, like hearing that from you just means more to me than I can even express into words. Just knowing that, putting out whatever I put out, whether it be the podcast, a post on social media, and just knowing that, I'm reaching someone and someone is seeing that and saying, wow, this is helping me in this way, or this is teaching me this, that's the point, right? That's really what we would all kind of want to strive for, right? When we're putting stuff out there into the world, like what is this going to do for people? Is this going to help people in some way? Is this going to add value to people in some way? And just to hear that from you is like it's just so amazing. Like
so glad that you, I'm just so happy for you too, that you have used your platform for the good. And I want you to know that I remember telling you on the phone that as long as I can help that one out of the 100, as long as I can reach that one. And I know that standing here with you, I am that one for you, just so you know that you have.
oh my God, Stevie, I can't. Okay. Oh my gosh. And you guys, this is so exciting to me, because like we said so many times, we had this phone call right before doing the podcast, and she connected with me on Instagram before that, but we set up the call and we were just on the phone for like 2.5 hours. I don't even know, like maybe
Crazy.
3. I don't know. I mean, so a long time just talking and talking about like her story, the things that she went through, the experiences, the Diamond Bucket Project, the nonprofit, how she created this, and just, her personal story and like the things that she's dealt with anxiety, with depression, struggling with an eating disorder. What was that like? What did that look like? How did she, overcome these moments? And like just all of these topics we covered and got into. I was like, I'm so more than excited to turn this into an episode, to like have this conversation, because what she is doing is truly incredible. And just like she said, whether reaching, one person 100 people, 1,000 people, whatever, like you're reaching somebody who is going to take something away. And you know, you never really know the extent to how you really do impact people, you know, unless, you know, they tell you, or they say, hey, you know, what you talked about or what you're doing has done this. And just being able to do that is such a huge thing for me. Just like being able to tell people, you know, what you're doing is so important and so necessary and so needed, because you are helping students, right? Students in schools who go to school every single day, who, you know, may be dealing with something that we don't even know about, that we can't even physically see. Because I remember you telling me a story of, you went in and you gave a talk to students, and you were telling me about one of the students in the audience, you know, who just was just happy, so smiling, excited, just lit up, so excited to be there. And then you told me what happened afterwards. So you tell the story. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, so that was definitely a special moment for me. And like you said, I was in a classroom. I was talking to a bunch of fourth graders. So if we just remember, they are, 10 years old. And I was talking to them about my platform. I had each and every one of them stand up and tell me 3 things that they loved about themselves. And I just remember this one girl. She had about 20 things to say that she loved about herself. And
Oh,
I was just like, oh my gosh, she's full of life. I could just see it. I honestly, and I said this to you, I saw my reflection in her. I was like, this is how I was. This is, at that age, I could just see myself. And that was the one person that really stood out to me in the class. And afterwards, I got to talk to the teacher about, she was giving me a little background to everyone. And, I remember her looking at the girl that I had pointed out amongst everyone in the room. And she said that she deals with depression and she sees a psychiatrist 3 days a week, and she does harm herself and has tried to harm herself. And in that moment, I was truly stopped, and I couldn't even fathom that the one person in the room that I thought was the happiest was the one struggling the most. And so that's what I took away from that experience, is that we don't know what people are dealing with. We cannot see it black and white. We have to dig deep. And sometimes that's what it takes, is talking to people, having conversations, seeing what other people are going through. And that one girl came up to me afterwards and gave me a hug and said, "Thank you so much for being here." And it makes me like want to cry, because it was the fact that I knew that was my one. That was my one. In that room, that was my one. And little did I know that I was going to make that much of an impact on someone that day. And so that's a story that will stay with me for the rest of my life. And I've been able to stay in contact from afar with this girl, and to be able to get updates from the teacher about her and her journey. And I just can't wait to see, what she does, because this doesn't define her. Her current situation
yes.
does not define her. So
I love that. I love that so much. And just, you know, being able to and hear the message right from that story of, we really truly don't know how people are doing, right? Because like you said, you know, you can see someone who's smiling, like laughing, just so full of life, excited, you know, and seeing that, right? And remembering, this girl reminds me of me when I was that age, reminds me of how I used to be. And then knowing, you know, and just sitting there and knowing the impact that you had on that girl. And like you said, she was your one, you know, having her come up to you and just thank you for being there today. And that is so special to me, because, you know, we really never know like the full extent of that impact that you had on that girl that day. She could have left and said, wow, you know, this changed everything for me. Just hearing someone come in and speak to our class and, you know, tell her story, talk about her platform, you know, have us say things that we love about ourselves, you know, just have that experience. You know, it's amazing and it's incredible. And it's just something that I'm so excited to get into and so excited to highlight and feature and everything. So the one last thing I really want to ask you is, what has been the most helpful for you in coming out of that period you experienced where you let depression and anxiety take control?
Mhm. So I feel like that I did not let it defeat me. And knowing that I am strong, I am I am powerful, I am beautiful, I am unique, I am creative, and knowing that I did not let those circumstances define or defeat me is what helped me. And to know that although I felt alone in this, I am not alone. And to know I have a community of people just like you and just like everyone that I have encountered or gotten to talk to know that we're not alone in this. We aren't. As much as it may seem like that in the moment, as much as it may seem like we can't get out of this cycle, or that this is determining our future, or that this is going to defeat me, I'm going to tell you right now, depression cannot defeat you. Comparison cannot defeat you. Anxiety cannot defeat you. Your demons inside of your head cannot defeat you. And I want each and every one of you listening to this right now to know that. And to take, if you take anything away, know that your current situation does not define you.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. The whole message, that message, just this entire conversation. As soon as I saw you today on my schedule to record, I just was lit up. I was like, this is going to be an amazing day, an amazing conversation. And it was. It was way more than I expected it to be. Just incredible, incredible value. All the tips you dropped, just the stories you told about your experiences, the nonprofit, the blog, all of it, all the stuff that you have done and you're currently doing, I think is absolutely amazing and incredible. And I'm so glad we connected, and I cannot wait to put this episode out there. And I hope that all you guys listening have enjoyed this one as much as I have enjoyed creating it for you guys. And whether you're listening in the daytime or the nighttime, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. And on that note, I'm going to end it here. And I hope you guys love this episode. If you love it, go ahead and reach out to us and let us know. And Stevie, tell them, where can they find you?
Oh, yes. So my Instagram is Stevie Ann Griffin. If you want to reach out, you can find me at thediamondbucketproject.com. You can find me on there. And also Facebook, Twitter is also Stevie Ann Griffin.
Yes. All right, guys. So you heard it today. That's where you can find Stevie and all her info. Go check her out. She's amazing. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So, all right, guys. Goodbye, guys. And goodbye, Stevie.
Bye.